Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we are reviewing the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection, the 19 year that just came out this year. But today we're going to find out, does this taste better with a little bit of air in it? Let's find out. Now, the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection is some of the more premium offerings that come out of the Heaven Hill Distillery. Basically, their top tier stuff is like this, the Parkers, some of the older old Fitzes can get up there in price, and then the William Heaven Hills, those are also some of the more expensive bottles that come out. This is a relatively new extension though from them. This is only their fourth release, or maybe their fifth release. There's the 27 year, a 17 year bourbon, the 20-year corn whiskey. There was an 18-year bourbon that was the year before, and then this year is the 19-year wheated whiskey. Now, Heaven Hill does a really good job with these boxes. These are some of the better boxes if you care about boxes of bourbon. I just love how it opens up in the middle there. I think that's a kind of a more unique thing. A lot of these other ones is just kind of like either you pull it out or just kind of just a normal front one. I kind of like this opening in the center here. The construction also is pretty good. Cardboard, you know, it still is cardboard, but this is actually like more, I guess, dense and durable cardboard. Now, this isn't my bottle. I was not lucky enough to get this in the drops here in Virginia. Thank you to my good friend Jose for letting me borrow this today to do a review for you guys. But I am a little nervous getting it out of this because it is tightly squeezed in there, and I don't want to do anything that would potentially damage this bottle, given just how expensive these are. The MSRP on them is $300, and we're going to find out, does this bottle actually drink up to $300? The secondary on it is much higher than that. I haven't cut close tabs on it exactly what it is, but I know it is substantially higher than that $300. So they have a lot of the stats for this bottle right on the front here. I'm going to read them to you guys, but basically it's coming from the 5th and 6th floor from Warehouse Y. Lately, when I've been going to the distillery to do your bottle your own bottles, a lot of the Elijah Craig's, the single barrels they're putting in there, are coming from Warehouse I, and those are some of the better Elijah Craig single barrels that I've had. So I don't know if this is one of the better warehouses they had, but I've had pretty good experience with Warehouse Y specifically. The mash bill of this is 51% wheat, 37% corn, 12% malted barley. For you those at home who keep track of these mash bills, this is their Bernheim wheated whiskey mash bill. You'll see those across their stores. They're pretty widely available. They just recently launched their barrel proof version, and finally this is coming in at 100 proof. Now, traditionally, it's going to be harder for me to pay up more expensive for a lower proof whiskey. However, lately, me personally, I've been digging lower proof whiskey, so this actually might just ring true to me today. But let's go ahead and pop this and give it a taste. I always feel bad. I don't know exactly how much I should pour when it's not my bottle. I want to make sure there's enough in there for me to give a review on it, but at the same time, I definitely do not want to over pour these whiskeys. It almost just hurts me. I don't know what it is. It just hurts me when I pour too much out of these when it's someone else's bottle. Gosh, where should I put this? Let's put it here next to it. All right, let's jump into it. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even need to do a cut there. A lot of times I do cuts because it takes a little bit of time to process this, but that was immediate. That is a fantastic aroma. The aroma has definitely opened up a ton, and that is where whiskeys mostly will evolve as you get more air into it. It's mostly the aroma that kind of just opens up. A lot of the notes are still there, but they almost feel compressed on a fresh crack, whereas once they get some air in there, those different notes, it's the same notes you get there, but they are more, I don't know if fragrant or more powerful, but there's in your face, and this is coming off amazing right now. Like, this just smells like old whiskey, not oaky whiskey. Those are two very different things in my mind. You definitely have old oak, heavy oak whiskey where it just tastes almost bitter from how long it's been sitting in that oak barrel, versus just whiskey that was made in like a bygone era. That's what I'm getting on this. It's a much more, I don't know if it's like a library book type of wood, where it's just a softer, more delicate type of wood note. Yeah, I feel like you give me that blind, and I would have guessed that this is a whiskey from like the 1990s, during that like bourbon glut where a lot of shelf whiskey had much older aged whiskey in it. This is just ringing memory tones from those type of bottles. Wow. Okay, man. The people who are going to like this bottle are the people who loved the Old Fitz 13. This bottle here, this red one, this one blew up last year, and it's because it has those older oak notes into it from just, again, a bygone era. This actually was distilled in the gosh, when was that? I'm blanking on the date, but it was a long time ago, and then they basically toted it to get it to this 13-year age statement. But I'm getting a lot of the similar notes on this, and I imagine they're probably going to taste similar at this point. We're going to find out once I go into it, but I'm getting very similar just aroma points on these, which kind of makes sense. They're both older whiskey, and they're both like kind of like that 100 proof area, even though this is a wheater and that is a bourbon. Yeah, maybe like a very, I don't want to use the word moldy, but it's definitely like a very soft, not a molded fruit, just sounds not good. But it's a nice, like, I'm enjoying the fruit notes I'm getting on this bottle. Yeah, to me, it's basically I'm smelling a really old leather-bound book. If you love those notes, you're gonna be digging this. I know there's some people who aren't the biggest fan of the libraries, but I am really enjoying this. Let's go ahead and jump into the pour, though. Okay, the wheat whiskey is definitely a lot more noticeable on the palate there than the aroma. I don't think I would have guessed a wheat whiskey by smelling it, but by tasting it, you definitely get that wheat. It is a very sweet pour, which a lot of times you get in those wheat whiskeys. It's gonna be a lot more sweet forward than those corn whiskeys that you might have. Is there any rye in this? No, it's wheat, corn, malted barley. I'm getting a little bit of a spike in rye on the back half of the palate. I don't really know what that is. It can be the proof because it's only 100 proof, but right in the back end there, I get a little bit of a spice as it transitions into the finish. But it is a very delicate pour. It's not very pungent. So I said on the aroma is like in your face. It lets you know it's there. But the drink of it is a much more, I don't want to say muted, but more laid back, just more relaxed. Not going to blow your socks off, not going to be complex. There isn't like a ton of different flavors going on with a big roller coaster here. You get a nice bit of sweetness there at the beginning, vanilla, very light honey, something kind of along those more sweeter, lighter notes. But where this still falls apart, similar to when I had this at Fresh Crack, is the finish. There is not really much of a finish to this, which was similar to the Old Fitz and a couple other 100 proof whiskeys. Makes sense. Low proof whiskey, you aren't always going to get the long finish that you would get from higher proof whiskeys. Now the taste notes for this bottle, in the mid palate, it said that you're going to get cinnamon graham cracker, which I actually am almost 100% agreeing with that. You get that cinnamon kind of spice in the mid palate, and then when I think of graham cracker, I traditionally think of more like youthful whiskey, not necessarily older whiskey like this 19-year, but there definitely is that almost texture of the graham cracker, not the like graininess of the graham cracker, but it's more of just had the mouth feel of like when you eat a graham cracker and the feeling you get, the sensation you get like on your tongue and your mouth. There's a small amount of oak as it gets to the back half of the palate, but I would never guess this is 19 years. Blind, never would get that, but there is a little bit of touch of oak on the back end there that shows a little bit of its age, but it's nowhere near as oaky as some 12-year bourbons that I have. This, to me, if I had to guess, I would have guessed maybe 12, just on like the age and the oak I'm drinking out of it. But take that in kind of a prism, because to me this is almost more of like a dusty type of drinking experience, where you get that older aroma from a bygone era, but it doesn't necessarily have like the strong oak notes that go with something that is a higher age dated product. Okay, before we get into my final review of this bottle, if you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my future videos. So what are my final thoughts on this Heaven Hill? Should you go out and try and pay secondary for it, get a bar pour of it, or just, pass entirely completely and put your money towards other ventures? So I would say definitely get a bar pour of this. solely because of that aroma. I am really digging that aroma. However, on the palate, it is a little bit of a letdown. I don't know if this is a bottle that I would necessarily be going to over and over again because of that palate. And I know a lot of you out there, buy whiskey to drink it. Me personally, I do put a lot more value in the aroma. I enjoy just sitting there, smelling the whiskey without really drinking it. So to me, I am enjoying this bottle more than I think most people who enjoy whiskey are. But if you enjoy aroma, that is like one of your top criteria when you're evaluating whiskey, this is definitely a bottle to buy, because that aroma is such a unique aroma that is hard to replace in a bottle. Basically, you're gonna have to be buying a super old dusty whiskey, which is gonna cost $400 ish to get something kind of similar experience to this, or the Old Fitz 13, which is now like over $1,000 to try and get that bottle. So to try and replicate that dusty aroma experience, you're gonna be paying a lot more than the 300 or kind of roughly whatever this is going on secondary. However, if you're looking for something that's gonna punch in your face, this is just not gonna be it. I think this is something that more of a, I don't want to say novice, but someone who's maybe getting into whiskey might enjoy more. Like the people who enjoy the Pappies, because they're very sweet, that nice, very simple drinking experience. That is what this is. It's a very nice, sweet drinking experience. I think a lot of people who love those Buffalo Trace products will like this type of drinking experience. It just doesn't elevate to the enthusiast level drinking experience. So for me personally, this isn't a bottle I would buy because I have other bottles currently in my collection that mimic the similar older dusty aroma drinking experience. So I don't really need to be going out and chasing another version of that. But if you do not have a dusty in your collection, haven't drank any dusties, this is definitely a bottle to look to add to your collection because it is on the more accessible side of that type of drinking experience. And just given how unique this bottle is, I would recommend everyone to try and get a bar pour of it to just experience this whiskey, because I think the aroma of it is definitely a special pour. So that's my review of the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection, the 19 year. Leave a comment below on what your thoughts on this bottle if you have tried it. But before you head out, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future videos that I post, and check out this video before you head out. And until next time, cheers.